Now available for the first time on Google Play, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are falling apart in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy on Google Play today. 3 people were killed and 2 were injured in a series of shootings in Orlando, Florida. Now, in this series of shootings, 19-year-old Keith Melvin Moses allegedly was wandering the street, and as he was wandering the street, his cousin approached him as he was driving a vehicle. And after offering Keith Melvin Moses a ride, he allegedly pulled out a firearm and shot a passenger in the back seat of the vehicle, 38-year-old Natasha Augustin, and killed her. And after shooting and killing Natasha Augustin, Keith Melvin Moses went on the run and then mysteriously decided to return to the scene of the crime. And as he returned to the scene of the crime, he ran into reporter David Lyons, and on seeing reporter David Lyons getting ready to report the story with his cameraman Jesse Walden, it is alleged that Keith Melvin Moses allegedly shot and killed Dylan Lyons and his cameraman, and then went into another home where he approached and shot a girl, Tiana Major, who was 9 years old, and wounded the girl's mother. And after winding up shooting and killing this 9-year-old and shooting her mother, Keith Melvin Moses was out wandering the streets once more, where the police found him, and on a body cam video, he was shown being arrested and making claims that he could not breathe. And after being put into custody, he allegedly assaulted several EMS workers in the hospital, showing me a pattern of extremely erratic behavior in this incident, which the police are trying to say is isolated. But when I take a critical examination of the alleged actions of Keith Melvin Moses, they fit the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And when I take a further critical examination of the behavior of Keith Melvin Moses as related to these alleged shootings, they really mirror the behaviors of Howard Unruh, who in 1949 participated in the Walk of Death, which led to the murders of 13 people. And it looks like to me that Keith Melvin Moses, a gang member and a man with a lengthy rap sheet, was participating in a walk of death as he was looking to participate in this series of shootings, a series of shootings that have no motive as related to the police. But when I look at his behavior, again, I can see the motive as related to beta males, because beta males, like females, are emotional, and beta males, like females, are very impulsive. And it looks like to me that Keith Melvin Moses possibly was one of these beta males who was caught up in his feelings about having this firearm. And as he was caught up in his feelings about having this firearm, he just had to go out here and use this firearm. And then he participated in this series of impulsive shootings in order to get some sort of feeling as related to using this weapon, because oftentimes a lot of beta males feel powerless as related to their own manhood and masculinity, and for them, using a firearm is a way for them to get some sort of power that they usually don't have. And Keith Melvin Moses definitely didn't possibly have any power in his life, because ever since he was a juvenile, he was in and out of the criminal justice system. And I believe that he possibly wound up in and out of the criminal justice system because he possibly came from a single mother household. And in that single mother household, he probably had no sense of order, no sense of structure. And that's possibly why he was just out here wandering the streets of Orlando. And as he was wandering the streets of Orlando, he basically was just looking for some type of trouble to go get in, and he wound up getting into that trouble starting when he got inside of the vehicle of his cousin. Once he got inside of the vehicle of his cousin, that's when Keith Melvin Moses, I believe, decided to act on his impulses and look to go out here and wield power by taking out this firearm and winding up and shooting it at Natasha Augustin, murdering her,
And I believe that he was just, again, looking to hurt people because he felt powerless about the state of his life, because he had already been in and out of the juvenile justice system, had been in and out of the criminal justice system, had been put on house arrest multiple times, and now he wanted to go out here and get this rush of power by using this firearm to harm people. And again, acting on impulse, because this is what beta males do. They oftentimes act on their impulses without ever thinking critically about how their actions impact others or how their actions will eventually affect them in the future. Because Keith Melvin Moses really was not really thinking critically as he was going out here and participating in this series of shootings. No, all he was thinking about was, for the first time in his life, he actually had this gun, and he thought that this gun would give him power, but he clearly showed that he was not responsible with wielding that power, because as he was out here just shooting random people, he showed how completely out of control he was. But this is something that many beta males are. They are extremely out of control because they never had a foundation of order and structure established for them inside of their household. And that was really shown to me, again, by the track record that Keith Melvin Moses had as related to his juvenile and his adult criminal record. It showed me that this male was a boy who grew up to become a man in crisis, because possibly the single mother could not control him, and because the single mother could not control him, his life became chaos, and as his life became chaos, he eventually wound up escalating his behavior from participating in juvenile violence to participating in adult violence to participating in a heinous felony. And as he participated in this heinous felony, sadly, a woman lost her life, a child lost her life, and a reporter lost his life trying to cover the story of a ticking time bomb beta male who was a man in crisis for an extended period of time. And this man in crisis for an extended period of time was completely out of control for an extended period of time, because he fell through the cracks of the juvenile justice system, he fell through the cracks of the criminal justice system, and even before that, he fell through the cracks of the family system. But when I look at Keith Melvin Moses' story, again, he is a textbook beta male who eerily mirrors the behaviors that I saw with mass shooter Howard Unruh, who again participated in the Walk of Death in 1949. And while Keith Melvin Moses had less victims than Howard Unruh, he wound up participating in a walk of death that took the lives of 3 people. But as we look at the behavior of Keith Melvin Moses and Howard Unruh, it shows us that there is a serious problem with beta males that America refuses to deal with, and that the reason why they refuse to deal with that problem is because no one wants to hold women accountable for the dysfunctional way that they raise boys to become men. No, America is too proud and wants to sit there and continue following the feminist idea that a woman can raise a boy to become a man. But when I look at Keith Melvin Moses and Howard Unruh from a historical perspective, it just shows me that women can only raise boys to become men in crisis. And as these boys become men in crisis, they become not ticking time bombs, but they become landmines. And it's a matter of when somebody steps on them that they do damage to others. And that was shown to us with the erratic behavior of Keith Melvin Moses, where we have this landmine who just got into a vehicle and just decided to start firing a gun, and then after firing the gun and murdering of this woman and then murdering this reporter and murdering a child, he goes back to the streets and just is standing around until police grab him. And what's really troubling is that as he was being grabbed, he wanted to try to play the victim like he was George Floyd. And as he was playing the victim, he had a hot gun on him. The gun was basically still smoking from all of the murders he participated in and was still warm for those murders, but he was sitting there looking to think that he could be a victim. And that is the sad state of affairs with a beta male, Everything that they do, they never have any sense of accountability for. They never want to take any responsibility for. And that's because many of these males are socialized to behave like females. And that's what we saw here with Keith Melvin Moses, the male who participated in these shootings in Florida. We saw a textbook beta male Pookie who basically got a gun, felt like he had a rush of power, became trigger happy, then decided to just start shooting and murdering random people, and then after murdering the random people was just standing around acting like nothing had happened, and then as he's getting arrested wants to make himself out to be a victim. And again, this is the whole pattern of a dysfunctional beta male. And as he's out here trying to play like he's innocent, he doesn't understand the trail that he's left of evidence as related to all of these shootings, the trail of witnesses that he has left, like the camera person and the mother of the child who he murdered and the cousin who basically saw him. All of these people can be witnesses to his trial, and as they're witnesses to his trial, he's basically created an open and shut case as related to the series of felonies he's committed that will lead to him possibly being in prison for the rest of his life at the minimum, or at the maximum in the state of Florida. He may wind up with the death penalty and wind up becoming the latest victim of a lethal injection. And before he even gets that lethal injection, he'll be getting a lethal injection from Bubba and Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, and Melvin as they are trading his skinny little ass for some Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Taster's Choice coffee, packets of Crystal Light iced tea, Kit Kat candy bars, 6-pack Oreo cookies, 6-pack duplex cookies, 6-pack lemon cookies, Kool-Aid, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pies. And as they are spit roasting Keith Melvin Moses possibly inside of the penitentiary and turning him out, he will possibly be winding up regretting what he did as he acted on impulse, because many beta males, they don't really think about their actions until they're inside of the penitentiary, winding up being traded for those commissary items and washing skid marks out of lifers' drawers. That's when they start realizing they made a mistake by acting impulsively, but by that time it is too late and they have to sit there and wait until possibly you get a lethal injection, and this guy possibly will be on the road to getting a lethal injection in the state of Florida as related to the crimes that he's committed. But the reason why he's committed those crimes, I believe, is because of the dysfunctional way he was raised in a single mother household, and in that single mother household he never received any sort of discipline and structure. And as he didn't get any discipline and structure in that family or the gang he was a part of, allegedly, he never learned how to handle his own personal power. He never learned how to take self-control for himself. He never learned how to take responsibility for himself. And he thought he could just act on his impulses, act on his feelings. And when he acted on his feelings, he wound up taking, again, these innocent people's lives. And he possibly will be going to the prison for the rest of his life, waiting for the death penalty at the end of this case. Now this whole case has many of the politicians once more participating in their vicious cycle of complaining, talking about how we need more gun control laws. And again, this is not a gun control issue, because when I look at Keith Melvin Moses' behavior, this wasn't about gun control, because even in a concealed carry state, you have to have permits and licenses. And I believe that this little beta male had none of that. He just had an illegal gun that he was possibly either was given or stole, and he possibly took this weapon, got addicted to the power with it. And again, this is not a gun control issue. This is an issue of beta males not having good self-control. And again, the reason why beta males participate in the violence they participate in is because they have no discipline, no self-control, and that is due to the dysfunctional way that they are raised inside of environments like dysfunctional single mother households, which is what I believe that this gang member possibly came from. I believe that he came from a dysfunctional household, and that is the foundation for all of the wanton violence we saw in Florida, where this male basically was just acting impulsively and out of control, and that's possibly why he wound up, again, just wandering out here looking for trouble, and again showing us that beta males are just trouble wherever they go. And what's really scary here is that while people want to debate gun control, they don't see how there's an increase in frequency of the violence that these beta males participate in, and that the problem isn't the guns, the problem is the way we are raising boys to become men here in American and Western society, the way we are raising boys to become men in this American and Western society, where we raise these soft males who have no family structure, no discipline, no order, is creating a world of chaos. And we're getting that world of chaos because we have 2 to 3 generation or close to 100 million of these beta males out here. And these beta males, since the COVID-19 lockdowns, have gone from becoming ticking time bombs to becoming landmines. And the scary part, again, is we don't know when these landmines are going to go off or what damage they're going to do wherever they go. And the even worse part about it is no one in government or politics wants to create policy to deal with the man crisis going on in this country. No one wants to talk about the problem because the problem points back to the Blue Party's policies in the 1960s, and it points back to some of the Red Party's policies in the 1980s as related to shutting down mental health facilities. And because neither party wants to take responsibility for their past actions, which are leading to the present day man crisis, many of them just would rather deflect by talking about gun control instead of talking about the ideals that were presented over 50 years ago that created this kinder, gentler, softer male who cannot deal with the hardness of life, and how this kinder, gentler, softer male has a problem functioning in the world because we have basically created a group of 100 million beta male men who do not know how to function in the world. And as they don't know how to function in the world, these males have evolved from ticking time bombs to landmines, and these landmines are exploding everywhere. And instead of acknowledging that we have a problem in this country, and the problem isn't gun violence, the problem is the man crisis, nobody wants to acknowledge the man crisis in this country, and that is why things continue to get worse. And this actions by Keith Melvin Moses show us how completely out of control these generations of men are, because this man, again, his behavior mirrors that of the Howard Unruh. And what's scary is that we had a man, again, almost 70 years ago, participate in a walk of death. And what's scary is history repeated itself right here with Keith Melvin Moses. And what's even worse is America doesn't see how much worse things are getting with the man crisis because Americans don't want to acknowledge that they have a problem in this country. We don't want to acknowledge that we have a man crisis, and we need to invest in our men in order to get this man crisis in order. The only way out of the man crisis is to invest in men so that they won't become ticking time bombs or landmines, to invest in them so that they can learn their purpose as a man, their worth as a man. We have to invest in our men if we want to have any sort of safety and security, because we've been investing in women for 60 years and all we're getting is chaos because we've got 3 generations of neglected men, and these neglected men have no sense of worth or purpose, and that's why they're wandering aimlessly like a Keith Melvin Moses, and they're becoming a danger to all because they are men in crisis. If you want to learn more about what motivates a beta male to become out of control like this, and how to stop them from becoming out of control, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Smashware's The iBookstore and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more men's issues videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, and my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback. From the author of the critically acclaimed book, The Man Crisis, comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women have become lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Get your copy of The Woman Crisis in paperback at Amazon.com and online booksellers today.